Welcome, everybody. You made it. I made it. We all made it. Number 22. And what strange irony that I planned the chessboard analogy, which holds just 22 spaces when the 64 squares are separated by 3 days each, long before I knew anything about Benjamin Franklin, supposedly at 22 years of age, writing his own epitaph, which is really a 16 by 16 grid code in itself, revealing, among many other things, the stripping of the altars ceremony at which is read Psalm 22, the one in which Jesus cries out, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" We've come a long way, haven't we? There's so much to remember in order to put the whole journey into perspective, to synopsize as best I can all 22 videos. I'm going to create that for you as a bonus video. Hopefully you'll receive it just before we have our celebratory Zoom call on November 9th. For now, my only task is to hopefully take us over the finish line with a view of what I consider to be the founder's ultimate message. It'll be controversial, and many of you will hold differing views, I'm sure. But that's good. We can discuss it on the call like real grown-ups. Here's my view, and it centers around two of the most utterly confounding aspects that are so far beyond the realms of ordinary human comprehension. I believe they can only be explained as the workings of a divine intelligence. A reminder will help, because it's been a long time since we first saw what I'm referring to. Annuit septis gave us capstone unity, Latin, or unit one, the foot, which I had first unveiled 8 years ago at an ancient civilizations convention. Novus Ordo Seclorum, incorrectly spelled and technically the wrong word anyway, gave us mer, the Egyptian word for pyramid, and locus, a technical math term for basically the relative positions of sun, moon, and earth. Our moons, and by virtue of a visual metaphor, also our suns, locus, loci, inevitably lead us to question the curious phenomenon that John Dee wrote about 4.5 centuries ago. Why do they appear the same size in the sky? And how come when you connect them geometrically like this, it reveals two extraordinary coincidences that are truly inexplicable? The square's perimeter and the circle's circumference are equal, effectively squaring the circle. But the triangle that unites them is also the perfect vertical cross-section of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Freemasons are fascinated by this and point out a sacred connection to Solomon's temple, for it seems to be conveying a similar truth, that in order to come into the temple from earthly consciousness towards spiritual consciousness, you enter between the Boaz and Yakin pillars, which represent both the heavens and the earth, and also the moon and the sun. In the temple layout, that's the only way you get to move towards what? The dwelling place of the most holy relic there is, the Ark of the Covenant, which is kept inside the Holy of Holies, the Sanctum Sanctorum, the De Vere, which just happened to be the remaining letters of the Great Seal's anagram. And since De Vere is derived from the Hebrew root word devarim, word, it is taken to mean the holiest word that John chapter 1, verse 1, line 1 conveys to us. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. In other words, the holy vibration at the very source of creation, or just raised to a higher vibratory level, light. This is further confirmed as the clear meaning the founders wished to convey by having chosen that exact side slope angle where the two very visible mistakes, they're not hidden at all, are on full view and have been for a quarter millennium. So I don't see how it can be taken that they were hiding anything. It's just we have been too preoccupied or uninterested to even see it. But once you do, you can't unsee it. And it leads us down a wonderful revelatory path where we see more and more evidence of sun and moon connections the deeper we go. The lunar solar cycle is that very same 13-12 ratio that is the only triangle with those ratio sides. And yes, it's 33 years, which is probably one of the reasons the Freemasons honor the 33rd degree as the pinnacle, the capstone of achievement. And now, of course, is where the point of all this shows itself very clearly if you just use a little imagination and wonder why they made the declaration be exactly 6,771 characters, the mirror image of 1776. We take the average distance Earth to Moon, a known quantity in miles, but we convert it to feet because why? Because unit 1. Divide it by 6,771 and we get the speed of light, the perfect constant that defines the original vibration at the start of creation, the Devir. But of course, there must be balance. The whole thing has clearly been telling us sun and moon. Ben Franklin was proudly very instrumental in bringing the news of the Venus transit measurements done in his hometown of Philadelphia to the attention of the world's scientific community. Measurements that brought us far closer to an accurate value of the astronomical unit. That's the average distance Earth to Sun. So invaluable in giving us deeper knowledge of the size of our own solar system and thereby a clearer perspective on our true place in the universe. So obviously we experiment in the same way with the AU, the astronomical unit. We take that distance, convert it to feet, and divide by 6,771 times its mirror image, 1776, and we end up with a simple geometric constant, 1 over root 6, which just happens to be the basic relationship of the most perfect Platonic solid, the octahedron, to the most perfect shape, the sphere inside it. A measurement that Nassim Haramein has proven to be the fundamental building block of creation, the 64-star tetrahedron. So what can we do with such a mind-blowing fact? Tell the world about it in the late 1700s, as if anyone would at that time have the least conception of what it meant? Do we, even now? I can barely wrap my head around it, except to surrender to its beauty and ascribe it only to divine intelligence. The Freemasons who knew and understood this could only have received it by virtue of it having been protected from the highest ages, kept secret during the Dark Ages where it could not possibly be understood, and passed down, always encoded, until the world would be ready to start understanding it. But having said that, I believe divine wisdom is nothing but perfectly balanced. Science alone is incomplete. The ancients, the ascended masters, the Vedic scriptures all speak of true alchemy being the perfect balance of left and right hemispheres of the brain. Science and art, math and music, physics and poetry. And I believe This brings us finally to the ultimate message behind this wonderful, inexplicable, to us as yet anyway, magic. Why sun and moon? The Freemasons often depict their icon of engineering, the 3-4-5 triangle of Pythagorean theory, without knowledge of which we could not have built the Gothic cathedrals or sent craft into deep space. They depict it as the deity family of Osiris, father, Isis, mother, and Horus, child. The archetypal trinity of God, the 3-in-1, the 1-in-3. And of course, to make an entertaining play, there has always got to be one actor who must play the villain, right? And that's the usurping, jealous brother, Set, who wants the kingdom for himself, of course. Now, we tend to think of the Horus eye, singular, as emblematic of that central Egyptian myth. But of course, like any hawk-headed human, he has two eyes. His right eye is the sun, which he gets from his father, the all-powerful sun god. His left eye is the moon, which he gets from his mother, the virginal moon goddess. Set is truly just playing the role assigned to him. He cuts Osiris into 14 pieces. This, of course, is a metaphor, because Set is really Maya, the magic trick that seemingly cuts the indivisible oneness into infinite fractals. You and me. It's the only way we can have a creation, after all, is to pretend we are not the one. Forget our infinite divine nature for a while, come to Earth and try to figure out what the hell we're doing here. So that's all Set is doing. He's not evil. His name simply means he who opposes. So he starts creation off without a big bang, more of a gazillion splice points, actually. And we're off and running. But of course, it's all a play. And Isis has to go into the underworld to search for her husband's parts so she can reassemble him. Meanwhile, Horus grows up and must avenge the death of his father. Thus, he challenges Set to a battle. The first blow is struck by Set, who plucks out Horus's left eye, the moon. Not a great start for young Horus, but okay. Let's pause a moment. This whole story is basically the plot line of that play that keeps cropping up, Hamlet. Hamlet's father, King Hamlet, Osiris, the ghost, remember, has been killed by his usurping brother, Claudius, Set, who is now married to Gertrude, Isis. And Hamlet, Horus, spends the whole play dithering about whether it's right to kill his uncle Claudius, Set. Eventually, it's a 4-hour play. He decides he's gonna go for it, and he does battle with a stand-in, Laertes, which is an anagram of real Set, by the way. I'm just saying. In Shakespeare's play, everybody dies, of course. The customers want blood, and there will be. Everyone except for Hamlet's friend Horatio, an anagram of, oh, ratio, got it. And a character named Osric, a totally made-up name for the play. So Shakespeare can have his name letters be an anagram for the whole gang. Osiris, or Isis, or why does he include a letter C in there? Well, to make Rosie C, of course. Shorthand for Rosicross, the Rosicrucian fraternity that Shakespeare's a member of, and John Dee and Francis Bacon are both grand masters of. The author is letting us know he is Hamlet, the true prince who gets cheated out of his kingdom by his usurping uncle. He is Horus. He is De Vere. And it's all about the De Vere, the altar stone there in the church, and the truth, the Holy of Holies, the Sanctum Sanctorum. It's all there. It's all there in Hamlet. But it's still the same Horace story. Look at this ludicrous picture we've been given, supposedly of what Shakespeare looked like in real life. There's all kinds of stuff wrong with it. It's a veritable landmine of clues and codes. But what I want you to see here is look at his eyes, the eyelids in particular. You see, he has two right eyes because his left moon eye has been plucked out. So, meanwhile, Isis returns and uses her magical divine goddess powers to restore Horace's sight. But she doesn't just restore his earthly sight, she teaches him how to join his sun and moon eyes together as one third eye, thus raising his consciousness out from the sway of Maya, MOAI doth sway my life, and back to his natural lawful state, divine consciousness. He's no longer bound by earthly sight. He remembers himself to be divine. Thus, he can now defeat Maya, the metaphorical meaning behind him killing Set, and thus restoring the family unit 1 in 3. The Trinity is back home. The play is over. Now, do we see why the divine has made the sun and the moon to appear the same size to our earthly sight? Do we see why one, the moon, is the speed of light, the De Vere, the start of creation, and the other is the sun, the basic building block of creation, the sphere inside the perfect octahedron, which forms the 64-star tetrahedron? Who could possibly create such perfection on a cosmic scale? Only the one, the divine. But who are we? Only the players, the gazillion fractals of the one, Osiris, who have just temporarily forgotten our true nature. And who are the founders, leaving all this for us like a great game in plain sight for the last 248 years, just sitting there waiting for us to see the immensity of it all. A modern day scripture. It's told the only way you can tell a real sacred scripture, in parables, in code. Nobody would believe it if you just came out and said it. Jesus did, and they hung him on a cross for it. Countless others down through the ages have tried to tell the truth. How many have listened or understood? The pyramid is our earthly journey. The sun and moon, our limited earthly sight, and yet contained in them, if we will just lift our sun, moon eyes to the capstone and see them united there. All differences that bring about confusion, delusion, and cause us to see each other as other.
The time is out of joint.
All of it has to go. This truth is not an easy truth to deliver. It's not a very welcome truth. Are we ready for it? Can we handle it? Maybe that is why it has seemed hidden. We just haven't wanted to see it. Because it means that whether you're playing the role of a T or an H, all the darkness of a million incarnations vanishes in the divine light of the realization that we are one.
can't get you out of my heart. You're the only one here who can end this game. Year after year, I was running around to get to know who's who. And like that, in the middle of the night, the guru from the right and said, oh, I got a woman for you. I saw you dancing on the moon. Your eyes flashed and I was blind. Now I can't get you out of my mind.
Thanks for playing my game.